In the deepest vaults of Windsor Castle, behind doors that haven't opened in decades, sits a Pearl Sautoir that once graced the throat of a future queen. It was a wedding gift from an entire city, crafted with love and hope for a young bride's future. That was nearly a century ago. The pearls still gleam, the diamonds still catch light, but no one has worn them since. This isn't a story about lost treasures or forgotten heirlooms. This is about the royal wedding gifts that still exist, magnificent, priceless, and completely abandoned. Tonight, we unlock the mystery of why some of the most spectacular jewels ever given to British royalty have been deliberately left to gather dust. When a royal bride walks down the aisle, she doesn't just marry a prince. She inherits a legacy written in diamonds and pearls. Wedding gifts pour in from around the world. Tiaras from emperors, necklaces from nations, brooches blessed by bishops. These aren't mere accessories, they're symbols of hope, alliance, and the promise of a glittering future. But here's what the fairy tales never tell you. Sometimes the most beautiful gifts become the most painful to wear. Sometimes a tiara carries too much history. Sometimes a necklace holds memories too sacred to display. And sometimes the very jewels meant to celebrate love become reminders of everything that was lost along the way. The Sautoir that time forgot. Let's begin with that Pearl Sautoir, because its story reveals everything about how royal fashion and royal duty can transform overnight. In 1923, when Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon married the Duke of York, London was still recovering from the Great War. The nation needed something to celebrate, and this Scottish rose provided exactly that. Among the cascade of wedding gifts was something truly spectacular from the citizens of the City of London. A sautoir of 5 pearl strands, each one perfectly matched, held together by a diamond clasp that caught light like captured starfire. The young Duchess of York wore it with the confidence of her generation. In those famous Van Dyck studio portraits, you can see her embodying everything the 1920s represented: modernity, elegance, and hope for the future. The long, fluid lines of the sautoir perfectly complemented the Jazz Age aesthetic. She was a duchess for a new era, and her jewellery reflected that. But then came 1936, and everything changed. When her husband unexpectedly became king, Elizabeth was no longer a duke's wife who could wear fashionable jewellery. She was a queen consort facing a constitutional crisis, and every choice, including what she wore around her neck, carried the weight of the monarchy's survival. The sautoir, so perfect for a young duchess, suddenly felt wrong for a queen who needed to project stability and tradition. It was quietly retired, placed in the royal vaults where it has remained for nearly a century. Here's what makes this story even more poignant. We know these pieces can find new life. The Queen Mother received another spectacular sautoir as a wedding gift, this one from Queen Alexandra herself, featuring amethysts and a heart-shaped pendant. It too vanished for decades. But in 2012, Queen Camilla appeared wearing it, expertly shortened into a modern necklace that honoured its history while serving the present. That amethyst necklace proves that these sleeping beauties can wake up. Which makes you wonder, what would it take for those London pearls to see daylight again? The necklace too sacred to wear. If the Pearl Sautoir represents changing fashion, our next piece reveals something far more complex: the weight of spiritual significance. When Princess Alexandra of Denmark prepared to marry the future King Edward VII in 1863, she received a wedding gift that was unlike anything else in royal history. King Frederick VII of Denmark didn't just commission a necklace, he created a reliquary. The Dagmar Necklace features nearly 2,000 diamonds and 118 pearls, but its true treasure lies in the pendant. A replica of a Byzantine cross discovered in the grave of the medieval Danish Queen Dagmar. Into this cross, King Frederick placed relics of immense spiritual importance: a splinter of wood said to be from the true cross, and a fragment of silk from the tomb of King Canute. This wasn't just jewelry. It was a sacred object disguised as royal regalia. Queen Alexandra treasured it, wearing the complete piece for her coronation in 1902. But she understood its power, and in her will, she made one absolute demand: that no part of it should ever be altered. She was protecting not just a necklace, but a piece of Danish royal and Christian history. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited it, she faced an impossible choice. How do you wear a reliquary to a state dinner? How do you treat a sacred object as a fashion accessory? Her solution was elegant. She wore the necklace, but never the cross. The diamonds and pearls could serve their ceremonial purpose, but the relic remained protected. The last time anyone saw this magnificent piece was during a state visit to Denmark in 1957. Since then, it has remained in the vaults, too sacred for casual wear, too historically significant to risk. It's currently on display at the Edwardians exhibition in London, the first time the public has seen it in over 60 years. The turquoise that skipped a generation. Sometimes a wedding gift's journey reveals the complex relationships between royal generations. The Persian turquoise Parure tells exactly that kind of story. In 1923, Queen Mary selected this stunning set: tiara, necklace, brooch, and earrings, all featuring vivid Persian turquoises set in diamonds, as a wedding gift for her new daughter-in-law, Elizabeth. The cool blue-green stones were fashionable and youthful, perfect for a young duchess. Elizabeth wore the parure frequently in her early years, the striking colour complementing her auburn hair beautifully. But when she became queen in 1936, her jewellery choices shifted toward more formal pieces. The turquoise set, so perfect for a duchess, felt too casual for a queen consort facing wartime and constitutional challenges. In 1951, Elizabeth made a decision that revealed her understanding of jewellery's emotional power. She gave the entire intact set to Princess Margaret for her 21st birthday. On the young, glamorous princess, the parure found its perfect moment. The striking colour contrasted beautifully with Margaret's dark hair, and for years the tiara stood as one of the most substantial pieces in her collection. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. When Princess Margaret died in 2002, the turquoise tiara was notably absent from the Christie's auction that dispersed most of her jewellery collection. The Baltimore tiara sold for nearly £1 million. The diamond necklaces found new homes, but the turquoises simply vanished. Most sources suggest the set remains with Margaret's son, the Earl of Snowdon, or perhaps returned to the royal vaults. For over 20 years now, no one has seen these magnificent pieces. They exist in a kind of limbo, too personal for the main royal collection, too valuable to ignore, too beautiful to remain hidden forever. The Indian necklace that became two. One of the most intriguing mysteries in the royal collection involves a wedding gift that may have been transformed so completely that its original identity was lost. In 1863, Queen Victoria gave Princess Alexandra a spectacular Indian necklace as a wedding gift: 7 rows of pearls, emeralds, and diamonds in the pure Mughal style. Contemporary reports described it as more curious than beautiful because the gems were uncut in the European fashion, but its historical significance was immense. We know Alexandra wore it. There are photographs of her at the famous Devonshire House Ball in 1897, the elaborate collar draped over her gown like liquid light. But after her death in 1925, the necklace's trail becomes murky. The accepted story is that Queen Mary, with her characteristic practicality, had the necklace dismantled in the 1930s. Its components were supposedly used to create the pearl and emerald necklaces that Princess Alice, Duchess of Gloucester, received as a wedding gift in 1935. Today, those necklaces are worn by the current Duchess of Gloucester, Birgitte. But here's where jewellery historians have raised fascinating questions. When you compare photographs of Alexandra's original necklace with the pieces worn today, the pearls don't quite match. The originals appear smaller, while the Gloucester necklaces feature substantial, perfectly matched pearls. This has led to a compelling alternative theory, that Queen Mary dismantled not one, but two Indian necklaces, and the true fate of Victoria's wedding gift to Alexandra remains unknown. Perhaps it was sold, perhaps it was given away, or perhaps it sits in the vaults, its identity forgotten, waiting for someone to recognize its true history. The amethyst heart that waited 90 years. Sometimes the most touching stories involve the simplest gifts. In 1923, Queen Alexandra, then in her 70s, chose a deeply personal wedding present for her granddaughter-in-law Elizabeth. It was an amethyst sautoir with seed pearls and a large heart-shaped amethyst pendant, a grandmother's gift to a young bride. But Elizabeth, with her preference for diamonds and pearls, never wore it publicly. The amethyst necklace joined the growing collection of unworn wedding gifts, its violet stones catching no light, its heart-shaped pendant holding no memories of grand occasions. For nearly 90 years, it remained hidden. Royal jewellery experts wondered if it had been lost, sold, or simply forgotten. Then, in 2012, something magical happened. Queen Camilla appeared at a James Bond premiere wearing a shortened amethyst necklace that looked remarkably familiar. It was Alexandra's wedding gift, finally seeing daylight again. The necklace had been expertly altered, shortened to suit modern fashion while preserving its essential character. The heart-shaped pendant still caught the light, but now it did so on a queen who understood its value. This transformation proves something important. These sleeping beauties aren't museum pieces. They're living jewellery, capable of finding new purpose when the right person recognizes their potential. The city that gave diamonds. Among all the missing wedding gifts, perhaps none is more mysterious than the diamond fringe necklace given to Princess Elizabeth by the City of London in 1947. This wasn't just any gift. It was a gesture from the nation's financial heart to their future queen. The necklace was displayed among Elizabeth's wedding presents at St. James's Palace, where thousands queued to see the treasures. Contemporary reports described it as a substantial piece, designed in the popular fringe style that could also be worn as a small tiara. But after the exhibition ended, the necklace simply disappeared from public view. Throughout her 70-year reign, Queen Elizabeth II was never photographed wearing it. It didn't appear in official portraits, state banquets, or even private family occasions. Recent investigations have revealed something even more puzzling. The necklace isn't held by the Royal Collection Trust, which manages the Crown's official jewellery. This suggests it remained in the Queen's private possession, but if so, why was it never worn? The mystery deepens when you consider that Elizabeth II regularly wore other diamond necklaces, gifts from Saudi kings, purchases from her own funds, inherited pieces from Queen Mary. She clearly wasn't opposed to substantial diamond jewellery. So why did this particular piece, from such an important source, remain unworn? Perhaps it didn't suit her personal style. Perhaps it was too similar to other pieces in her collection. Or perhaps there were questions about its provenance or ownership that made it unsuitable for public wear. We may never know the answer, but the necklace's absence speaks to the complex decisions that shape a royal wardrobe. The pattern of abandonment. Looking at these stories together, a pattern emerges. These aren't random disappearances. They're deliberate choices that reveal the impossible pressures facing royal women. Some gifts become unwearable because they're too tied to specific moments in history. The Dagmar necklace carries such spiritual weight that wearing it casually would feel like sacrilege. Others, like the Pearl Sautoir, become victims of changing fashion and changing roles. Some pieces are abandoned because they're too personal, too connected to relationships that have ended or evolved. The turquoise parure worked perfectly for a young duchess and a glamorous princess, but perhaps felt wrong for the queens who inherited it. And some gifts disappear because they represent expectations that their recipients chose not to fulfill. Every wedding gift carries the giver's vision of who the bride will become. Sometimes the most loving thing a woman can do is refuse to be trapped by those expectations. The hope of resurrection. But here's what gives me hope. These pieces aren't truly lost. They exist, preserved and protected, waiting for their moment to return. We've seen it happen with Queen Camilla's revival of the amethyst necklace. We've witnessed Catherine's triumphant appearances in tiaras that hadn't been worn for decades. Each time one of these sleeping beauties awakens, it creates a bridge between past and present. It honors the original giver while serving the current wearer. It proves that the best jewelry isn't trapped in time. It transcends it. We've journeyed through the hidden chambers of royal history where wedding gifts wait in darkness for their second chance at light. We've seen how the most beautiful presents can become the most painful to wear, and how the greatest act of love sometimes means setting something aside until the right moment arrives. These missing wedding gifts remind us that behind every crown, every tiara, every glittering necklace stands a woman making impossible choices between duty and desire, between honoring the past and embracing the future. The pearls still gleam in their velvet cases. The diamonds still catch light in the darkness. And somewhere, perhaps sooner than we think, the right woman will open the right vault and choose to let these treasures shine again. Because the most beautiful jewelry isn't the pieces we see, it's the ones that wait patiently for their perfect moment to return. Which of these missing wedding treasures would you most love to see return to the spotlight? I'm personally dreaming of those London pearls finding their way back into the light. Imagine them on Catherine at a state banquet, or perhaps shortened into a modern choker for a new generation. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to know which piece captured your imagination and who you think should be the one to finally wear it again. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden vaults of royal history, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me continue exploring these fascinating stories of love, loss, and the extraordinary women who shaped royal legacy.